to the show and welcome to the Los Santos Rally Championship. There shall be a video a day hopefully covering each stage of this rally over the sort of the next coming week. The first stage is also the qualifying stage. Due to the large number of entrances, I had to basically cut the field down. For the off-road class, this was just going to be the first stage, and it's Husky in his Bifta that would go first. However, for the road class category, we had so many entrances, it has to be cut down to a top 10, just because this takes so long. This has been a nightmare to organise and took forever to kind of get through everything. However, we got there in the end. Yeah, up first was Husky with a Bifta. You see, when I designed this, I was expecting the off-road class to comprise of Biftas, dune buggies, and BF injections. And while the Bifta is pretty damn quick, it does have some issues as Husky manages to find a barrier that would become a fairly common sight within this stage. The big downside with the Bifta is, yes, while it's very fast accelerating, it actually got very good top speed. It is very, very light and doesn't really have very high ground clearance and particularly good suspension for proper off-road driving. When I used this thing on the downhill chaos, yes, it was phenomenally fast, but it was very easy to have a big crash because the vehicle just gets pinged around on the bumps, as you see through here. Husky just could not quite keep control of the Bifta, and sure enough, it goes round in a circle. The other vehicle I thought we may see a few of in the off-road class is the SandKing. No, this doesn't have the top speed or really the acceleration of the Bifta. However, it deals with the bumps a hell of a lot better, so you're unlikely to see this being sort of pinged around in the same way. There is a slight downside to having this very high suspension. It may have more of a tendency to roll over, although because this is a very long wheel-based car, it's less likely to roll than the likes of the Mesa and the Rebel. Also, when you have very soft suspension like this, you don't get the pinging around effect. However, you can have it sort of spring off the suspension. It's kind of weird to explain, but that can happen. However, on the opening stage, the SandKing didn't have any problems at all. As you can see, there really wasn't particularly any issues with it. There wasn't any BF injections or dune buggies. There was a Rebel that almost rolled on the final corner, finished across the line on two wheels. There's an extra style point in that for managing that one. Somebody turned up in a Dune Loader, which again, much like the SandKing, much better at coping with the bumps and the jumps. However, it is rather big, rather heavy, and not particularly fast. So yeah, it struggled a little bit. The Bodhi, I didn't actually really think about this vehicle. The Bodhi, basically Trevor's truck, I believe this thing here is I think it's four-wheel drive, does pretty well. It did pretty well in the downhill chaos. And was going fairly well in qualifying until he got caught in the storm drain, and in trying to get out, got his car completely wedged and took a good sort of 45 seconds to recover the vehicle. Yeah, wasn't expecting to see a car actually get stuck in there. There's not a position, not a place I expected vehicles to get stuck. There was another Bifta that had a go at the course and pretty much copied Husky's accidents exactly. Crashed in the two same places at the bridge and then would spin going down the hill, proving the slight downside to the Biftas. Someone even used a Kalahari. I quite like this vehicle for off-road. It's so easy to drive off-road, this thing. It's incredibly smooth. However, the downsides are that it's not particularly fast in a straight line, or accelerating for that matter. For the SUVs, someone turned up. I hadn't even thought about this car. I didn't realise it was counted as an SUV. An FQ2, I believe, is the name of the thing. Yeah, this was one I hadn't really paid much thought to. Things were going fairly well. However, this too got caught out on the bumps and sure enough slid into the side of the bridge. There's quite a nasty accident on that one. Again, that would be another spot that would claim many victims. And there was to be one final SUV. I think it's a Baller, this one. I'm surprised more people didn't go for SUV or to go for the off-road class in general, to be honest. I'm surprised though that there weren't more SUVs, as okay, these are a little bit bigger but a little less manoeuvrable. However, they've got pretty good speed and should be able to keep up fairly well with the likes of the Bifta. For the on-road class, it was to be the first car that went in the entire on-road section that would set the fastest time for the first stage overall, which is quite impressive. And of course, it was going to be a Sultan. There were many Sultans entered into this, all in various colours. This one looking very similar to my Sultan, I think. In fact, I think it might almost be, I think it has almost everything except for the wheels the same as my Sultan. Yeah, there were quite a few Sultans that turned up to this. However, despite that this one here did get the fastest qualifying time, they weren't to be as dominant as people kind of feared and people half expected. Now, this is a different black and orange Sultan, having slight problems at the end of the course, getting things wrong, eating some fences, which is never a good idea, and then almost clattering a tree. And unfortunately, those tiny little mistakes towards the end cost this car from getting into the top 10. It was really rather close qualifying for that 10th spot. There's another car went into Husky's barrier. There was yeah, just taking too much speed over that jump, not realising quite how some of the turns on this course are really quite tight, and it was very easy to take too much speed. I apologise about the filters as well, as a Futo has a big off. An impressive flat spin. Again, bonus points for style on that one, but yeah, that's going to cost quite a bit of time. Yeah, sorry about the filters. I didn't realise whenever I loaded up spectator mode, it kept putting on a filter automatically, and if I didn't think about it, that's why they're there. It's incredibly irritating. I don't know why it does it. So yeah, sorry about that one. We have another Sultan going for a big fly. Probably the most airtime any car got on the qualifying route. That one didn't quite get a roll, but again, another spin. Won't have been particularly helpful for the time. Yeah, there were lots of Sultans going down here, but they weren't sort of overpowered, if you like. They weren't massively dominant. Sure, a lot are going to qualify, but that's because a lot of people chose to use them. The numbers of them far outweigh everything else. Another interesting aspect was whether people ran off-road or on-road tyres for their car. All the courses, they were kind of a mix. Some sort of dusty tarmac roads, some dirt. So there were some tarmac bits as well in this one. As another Sultan has a problem, this time spinning off to the left. Not many cars ended up going left on that one. Most of them went to the right of the bridge. Yeah, the tyre choice was an interesting one. I don't think, like, you kind of got a little bit of an advantage on the off-road bits with off-road tyres, but then of course you had less grip when it came to the sort of the tarmacy sections. The green Sultan here got very lucky. You don't want to be going left into a right-hand corner and somehow manage to grind his way over a barrier and over a bridge and stay on the road without losing as much time as he could have done. Another Futo. The Futos really struggled here. The Futos did not do particularly well. I'm not entirely sure quite what it's down to. There's an element of lightness. The Futos, when I tried to drive this down the mountain in the Daniel Chaos, was so hard to drive. This one got so lucky, well controlled there, very well controlled to not have a big accident. The Futos just did not fare particularly well, whether it's lightness and a lack of speed. I just think it's just the combination of them meant that they, yeah, the Futo struggled. The Mitsubishi Eclipse looking thing, and I have no idea how to pronounce. Again, there are a couple of these turned up, and neither of them did particularly well either. I'm not sure quite why. Like, they didn't have massively, I was going to say massively crashy runs, but that's terrible English. They didn't have a massive number of mistakes. Almost every car scraped along that bridge. I think that has paint from every vehicle on it. Yeah, they just didn't particularly fare well. They might not have quite have the acceleration or the top speed of some of the other cars. This one was an interesting one. The Chameleon. I had completely forgot about this car even existing when I made this. This is the limited edition, the limited collector's edition car. That's the one. Yeah, I was interested to see how this one would fare, and sure enough, it set a very impressive time, despite a slightly laggy fly incident there. But despite a few scrapes along the walls, the Chameleon set an impressive time to qualify in the top 10. A full side, I think is what this thing is called. Found a new place to have an accident, the only one to find that particular bump and go for a bit of a spin again. This car was actually on for a fairly decent time until things went all wrong at the final few corners for it. Yeah, it did seem to be a pretty half-decent car, that one, that a lot of people, I think, just kind of forget about. This green Sultan, despite running wide and eating some fences, was to set the third fastest qualifying time. Yeah, without those mistakes, this thing would have had an incredible first stage time, if you like. I messed up the time of day again. Well, I messed up with the filters again, sorry. I messed up the time of day with this round. It's hard organising everybody and trying to remember everything. So yeah, this one here is in day rather than morning. Either way though, this sedan, the Shafter I believe it is, despite looking like a mafia car with very silly wheels because it's running off-road tyres, set an impressive time to qualify, beating quite a few of the Sultans. Wasn't expecting necessarily to see this car qualify, not the quickest of cars, despite a bump on the fence. Yeah, he managed to get it into the top 10. The Tailgater I thought could be a surprise vehicle here. Unfortunately, this one just got things wrong, and yet again it was the bumps down towards one of the bridges that caused problems, and that was another pretty nasty crash. The rest of the sedans didn't really fare much better. This estate car, I have no idea what this one is called, had a pretty clean run. I don't think it had any incidents at all. It just lacked speed and lost quite a bit of time on the fast sections. Ran fairly close to the railings on the bridge, but yeah, just didn't have the speed to keep up with the rest of the vehicles. I don't know what this is called, I can't remember, the thing that looks like the Ford Crown Vic, despite the little bump on the fence, actually set a very decent time. Of all the sedans, well, except for the Shafter, this one came pretty close to qualifying. Yeah, did a decent time, not quite quick enough, again, just lacked a bit of the speed that some of the other vehicles had. I think this is Acera, however it's pronounced, came incredibly close to the wall. That's ridiculous. Like, you could not fit like a playing card in between that and the and the wall there. Very, very close. However, again, struggled with the acceleration and struggled with the top speed. The coupe class, or the coupe cars I should say, sorry, these could be the surprise. These were the ones that sort of everybody was thinking, oh, the Sultans are going to dominate. I was expecting to see the coupes do very well, and this exemplar, despite a bit of an incident on the first bridge, still managed to qualify with a fairly impressive time, which signifies that this could well do pretty impressive things in the future stages. The Oracles struggled on this one. They had some problems running into the barrier there and nearly rolling. Won't help much, sorry. But yeah, they really didn't set particularly impressive times. I'm not exactly sure why. It doesn't help when you do that kind of thing. But yeah, neither of them did particularly well. The black and orange one managing to find the one rock at the end that was hidden behind a bush and was the first roll of the evening, righting his car and crossing the line. Yeah, it doesn't help matters when you roll on the final corner. The white Oracle then managed to get himself stuck on a tyre. Yes, this is a big four-door, well, it's classed as a coupe, it's really more of a saloon car, but a big four-door car has been defeated by a little tyre. Not even a big tyre, but just a normal... Yeah, well done on that one. I'm not quite sure how that one works either, but... well. A Sentinel got very, very close to qualifying again. Another car that it had a fairly clean run, I think, this one. Just not quite quick enough. Didn't miss out on qualifying by very much, but yeah, another car that's just not quite fast enough. The Maserati-looking thing, I thought this could be a surprise package, and it may well have qualified had it not been for a spin on the bridge. Didn't hit the wall, got it stopped in time, just tried to put the power down a little bit too soon. That's the downside of these road cars. If you just hit a bump a little bit wrong, especially in a powerful one, that kind of thing can happen. However, a Felon GT set a very, very fast time through the first stage to qualify second fastest, despite a few bumps around the final couple of corners. And there we go. The Felon, yeah, this is certainly a car to watch in the future rounds. I wondered if one of the compacts could spring a surprise in this. No, they're not going to have the straight line speed of some of the other vehicles. However, they are very small and they are very good handling. So maybe they could have upset the order a little bit. Unfortunately, both the drivers made mistakes on their runs with the blue ballista, finding a rock and then going on its side and skidding along for a bit. Despite that, they actually set half decent times, and yeah, it was a bit of a shame. I would have liked to have seen a ballista sort of upset the order. The muscle cars were another one that I thought may cause a bit of an upset. The first well, I've forgotten the name of the car now. Got Sabre Turbo, there we go. First Sabre to have a run. Got things wrong again. Down the hill. And another impressive flip. Probably the most impressive of the crashes we've had so far. But yeah, that doesn't really help matters particularly. A Ruiner with an interesting... I'm not quite sure what that spoiler... What's going on with the spoiler. Almost overshot the barrier. I'm not quite sure what the car got caught on there to not fly over the barrier. No vehicle did fly over the barrier. That was the closest any of them got. But yeah, that's not going to help your time particularly. The cars that I were expecting in this class to be surprises were the Dominator and the Gauntlet, and indeed the Dominator set, despite having a few incidences and a few bumps along the way, the Dominator set a very quick time, just missing out on qualifying. However, there was only to be one Dominator that falls in the storm drain, and nobody turned up in a Gauntlet, which is a bit of a shame because I think those cars could have really challenged. The rest of the muscle cars were just filled with Sabres, and while I like the Sabre, it's a very cool car and it appears lots of people people like the Sabre. It does struggle a little bit on this particular route, this being the fastest of the Sabres, I believe, taking an interesting line through the storm drain. I think a couple of people ended up taking that line once they fell off the sort of like the first bit. Another Sabre was to be confused and have some problems with the bumps and have the slowest roll in GTA history. Not quite sure how that car went over on there, because that was going incredibly slowly. But yeah, the bumps were catching the Sabres out a little bit. That is always the risk you run when driving very quickly in a road car on a bumpy sort of road. Lag was to be a little bit annoying. With this car is kind of amusing sometimes with this when it's trying to catch up with itself and find out what's going on. Unfortunately for this Sabre, it was looking pretty good up until the final section where yeah, everything went wrong for the Sabre, and there you go, he managed to get across the line. But lag wasn't, for some reason the game was not happy with this one, as we see floating cars, gravity defying. Yeah, I'm not quite sure on that one. Well, that was a qualifying. That was qualifying done. I apologise. I just couldn't fit every car in this video because there's loads and loads of stuff going on with this one. Now, I'm not going to put the numbers on the screen because it would just be page after page of writing. So the qualification times will all be in the description, and you'll find, yeah, all the information will be in there. It's just a neater way of doing it because I can only fit so much on the screen at once. So yeah, the qualification times will be in the description. There were some upsets, there were some prizes in there, some surprises, sorry, I didn't say that very well, in the order, but yeah, the first stage, it took a long time sorting this out, but I think everybody enjoyed it. And again, I'm sorry if people couldn't quite make it because of time zones and internet problems. There's only so much I can do when I'm trying to organise a stupidly complex event such as this. However, that is it for today, so thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.